Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody.
Good morning.
I saw on Lana's Instagram late last night as you were coming back from WWE Live in White Plains. The weather outside is frightful, but I am so delightful. And you have brightened up this morning.
Thank you. I'm excited to be in New York. I love New York. New York City is one of the best places. Yeah.
So I want to jump right in and ask you, what was it like planning 2 weddings? I know you're Lana / you are CJ, and your husband is the WWE champion, Rusev, the Bulgarian Brute.
Well, he's not champion yet. He will be champion soon. But he is the 2-time United States champion. And he basically wanted me to make sure that everyone knows that he will be the WWE Universal Champion. So, yes.
Yes. That will be up soon at the new WWE Monday Night Raw
Yes.
pay-per-view.
Yes.
So I'm excited to watch that.
Gosh, 2 weddings. It was crazy. I tend, when I get stressed with my career, I tend to really focus and go for it and, work really hard. But then when I get stressed with my personal career, like if I need to do some interior designing or organize my closet or plan 2 weddings, I just tend to push it to the side and go, oh, I'll just do it later. I'll do it later. I need to focus on my wrestling. But I was lucky. Rusev's mom planned the Bulgarian wedding, so that was a little stressful, but because I was like, oh God, I don't know what's going to happen. But it was also really great that I didn't have to really worry too much. I just picked the colors basically and picked my wedding dress. But the American wedding, at one point, if you watch Total Divas, yep. Mark Carano actually had to step in and say, okay, your wedding is a month and a half out. You're going to need to stop going down the NXT development program. You're going to need to just put wrestling on hold for a second and focus on your wedding. So, and the girls like Maurice and Natty, they would constantly be like, how do you not know what cake you're going to have? You're a month out. Like, how do you not know what your flowers are going to be yet? And I'm like, I don't know. I have so many ideas. Yeah. But they would, a lot of people were laughing at me. At one point, I was like, I want to have a circus wedding. This is what I want. WWE is a circus. We travel 300 days of the year. We put on a show. I want my wedding to be the greatest, the most enthusiastic. I want a Ferris wheel. I want elephants. I want giraffes. Maurice wasn't happy about that. But I think subconsciously there was this competition. Like I have to make sure my American wedding is better than the Bulgarian wedding. It has to be more fun. It has to be more entertaining. So there was always this competition going on. But my wedding turned out to be awesome. The Malibu wedding was, if you watch Total Divas, you're gonna see how amazing it was. So many people were like, this is one of our favorite weddings we've ever been to. And then I have to admit, I guess the Bulgarian wedding did top the Malibu wedding. So, but I had 2 great weddings. I'm very, very thankful.
And there were a lot of traditions in the Bulgarian wedding we were talking about backstage.
Oh my God. I mean,
tell us a little bit about those.
So many traditions. You think Rusev always is basically laughing at America and their American traditions. And if you watch this Wednesday night, it's a big episode on my relationship with the Bulgarian Brute and his mother. So, Mama Rusev.
Mama Rusev, I love that.
There's a lot of, differences. There's a lot of culture differences. I understand the Bulgarian culture very well because I grew up in Russia. So I'm a Russian American, and I understand his points of views, but my parents and my parents, I should say, not my family, but my parents, they're American, and there's a lot of hitting heads of just basic culture differences of the way they view the world versus like Bulgarians view the world.
Yeah.
And so there's constantly, and I'm the middle person. I'm like, oh God, I feel like I'm the therapist in the family. I'm like, I can't do this. I didn't go to school for this.
You're like, I just want to get back in the ring.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, you can watch this episode of how, you know, we had to work through culture differences.
And I'm really curious, how did you and Rusev meet? I know that a lot of the women and the men, sort of like you said, it's a traveling circus. So you're with each other 24/7.
Yeah.
So there's no like Match.com. There's no like going out to bars and meeting guys that you might not meet otherwise. So how did you guys meet? And was it love at first sight?
Well, of course, for him it was love at first sight, obviously. Well, he remembers meeting me the first day. I don't remember meeting him the first day. But I remember actually the second day I met him, I remember specifically meeting him at a tanning salon. And I was like, oh, are you a wrestler? Because he's a big guy. And then he was like, oh, are you a stripper? And I'm like, what?
Oh my God. CJ, that's crazy.
Like, of course. And I could hear his accent. And I originally thought he was from Russia because Bulgarian and Russian are very similar languages. He's like, no, I'm from Bulgaria and I've been to Bulgaria before. So we instantly started talking. And then by the third day, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, who was in charge of creative in NXT, I went up and I cut my first promo and I cut it in Russian and then switched to perfect English, and he was like, baby, I want you to work with Rusinov. And like, Rusinov? Who's that? And so I went up, literally the fourth day, I went up to him, I'm like, well, Dusty Rhodes wants us to work together, and that's how it started, and it's been history ever since.
That's so great. And I want to sort of touch on, of course, wrestling. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I'm sure we have some WWE fans here today. What is that process like coming up through NXT, and you know, what has been the hardest thing about being a woman in wrestling? I know that Stephanie McMahon last year sort of made that great transition from Divas to the women's championship and the women's division. And so what was that also like, being a part of history, essentially?
Wow. Oh, gosh, there's so many things to say about the things that you just asked. I was really fortunate. When I went to NXT, I come from an acting background and entertainment, and so I was able. I mean, I remember my first couple weeks of promo classes. I would just make Dusty laugh all the time because I would come up. I would have like 4 or 5 different, not just a promo, but full-on skits where I would have like 5 different people in there, and I would write these whole scenes. And he's like, baby, you need to be a movie director. And just like always just creating. And you know, I would go to Dusty. I would literally have a meeting with Dusty every single day with like a 9-page pitch of like some crazy character. So it was actually Triple H who, probably about a month in, me and Rusev were doing a little bit more comedy skits and promos and scenes. And Triple H was like, try have you seen Rocky IV? And I had just watched it, and he was like, try different things. Maybe try pulling your hair back, slicking it back, try an accent, and because it was like, I was the American that Rusev was trying to bring back to the Eastern Europe, and I had never really thought about being like full on Russian, And so I remember trying the whole with a Russian accent, and literally within a couple weeks, I was on NXT TV, and then within like 4 months, was brought up onto the main roster. And Triple H had a lot to do with helping me. With Dusty Rhodes, with helping me form my character. And he still has such a big part, and he's brilliant. He's a
Yeah.
genius, and just like his wife, and both of them, Stephanie and Triple H, we are where we are in the WWE as women because of them. Like, they are such huge advocates of women, and giving us opportunity. And I'm just really, really thankful. I mean, Vince McMahon, he's literally brilliant. He's a genius, and I learned so much from those men and Stephanie of how important it is to evolve with your time. And so Vince sees like the industry's changing, sports is changing, entertainment is changing. This is the time that women, we are getting more opportunity, and it's really important. And so I'm just really, really thankful. I remember, I think was it WrestleMania 31 or 30? When we were in San Jose, I remember, at the time, the Divas Revolution had not started. It was the hashtag Give Divas a Chance. Yep. And I remember, the matches were about a minute and a half long a lot of times. And I remember looking up on the stadium, and there was literally no women representing. And my heart kind of broke, because I'm just like, we're human beings. Like, I want to be represented. And if not me, I want a woman to be up there. Like, we should be represented. And I just remember, like, I would cry so often. And I would be like, I want us to be represented. We deserve that opportunity. And I would just, like, pray and try to put positive energy out there. And within a year, to see Charlotte and Sasha and Becky,
oh my God, they're
on
amazing.
The huge stadium, I remember seeing it just crying, because I was like, wow, this is like how quickly things can change. And just to see, I'm so honored and so thankful to be a part of this, evolution. And when Stephanie said, we're called superstars and not divas, it's like, that's awesome. Like, we are stars, and we should be called superstars.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on something you also said, that, if not me, another woman up there. I think empowered women empower women.
Yes.
And that's one thing I love about Total Divas as a show. And I want to congratulate you, because it's been nominated now for a big award for the Women's Image Network.
Thank you. I'm really
excited for a Best Reality Series.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
And, one thing I love about this show is that so many of you ladies constantly are saying in the confessionals that, it's all about the women's revolution. And that documentary that's on the WWE network was great. I was watching that, and I'm not going to lie, I was in tears a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that match you're referring to that was Give Divas a Chance was Bria, Nikki Bella, and that total time was 29 seconds.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And so, with your own success, I know we were talking a little bit backstage, the Lana Squad is huge, and I know it's not just about your fans, but it's something much greater.
Growing up, I always felt like a misfit. I always felt like I was an American growing up in Russia, so I was the only American at school. I grew up as a minority, and often I would get lower grades because they didn't like Americans. And then when I came to the States, I felt like I didn't fit in with all the Americans because I felt like I was Russian, and always just kind of being often, still to this day, very misunderstood, and always feeling like an outsider. And I feel that's kind of why I came up with the name Lana Squad, because I'm just like, I'm going to start my own squad. Like, I don't need to be a part of a clique. I don't need to be a part of a group, because I'm always like, well, where are my people? Where do I belong? And it's like, I'm going to start my own group of people, and it's going to be for the misfits. It's going to be for the misunderstood. It's going to be for the people that they feel like they don't always fit in. And it's like, everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome into my group of people. Everyone's welcome into my squad. And it's not about the cool kids or, I remember I'm a big Star Wars fan, and Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and comic books. And I remember I posted something online, and I hashtag nerd, and all the hate that I got, because people are like, you're not a nerd. And it's like, well, first of all, like, I can like whatever I want. The only reason why you like Star Wars is because Star Wars is cool now. It's like, no, when I was 5 years old, I was watching Star Wars. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to label myself, but everyone's welcome into my group. And I'm not going to tell people you don't belong here. And, you know, it's the group of kindness, of positivity, of counting your blessings, of being grateful and encouraging one another, you know.
That is amazing. That's also a great way to start a dreary Monday morning here in New York City with some Monday motivation.
Monday motivation.
So I think we'll go to audience Q&A.
Hey, CJ. It's very nice to have you here. I love the Dusty Rhodes stories. He was truly one of a kind, and I know fans miss him every day. Such an influential part of the business. Yeah. So I have two wrestling-related questions for you. One goes back, I know a little while back you were in a storyline with Dolph Ziggler, and then TMZ broke the news about your relationship with Rusev. What was going on in your mind when that sort of happened? Because I know it altered storylines quite a bit for what the company had in its original direction. And then secondly, one of my favorite recent exchanges was with you and Rusev, with The Rock unexpectedly showing up at the Barclays Center. What was that moment like for you? As a fan watching on television, that was a pretty cool exchange.
Well, everything's storylined, as you know, and so, you know, sometimes we're given things and the WWE universe doesn't always like the things, or they'll diss us, or they'll have an opinion why it's happening or whatnot. And I just take, you know, I'm a canvas there. This is Vince McMahon is the director, and it's not my, you know, I'm an actor, and it would be, you know, I'm given the script, and it's my job to justify as an actor of ask the questions. Okay, well, what's going to make my character do that? Not necessarily like, oh no, we shouldn't or should not, and so I just roll with the punches with everything, you know. So I'm just like, okay, well, this is supposed to happen. Well, you know, I guess this story is supposed to end at this point, or I guess The Rock is going to say these things to me. Okay, this is what we're doing. What would make Lana do this? And those are the questions I always ask myself, and I just don't really let my head wander anywhere of questioning of why and whatnot, or, you know, because you're going to drive yourself crazy. I just am thankful I have a job and I can do what I love every single day for a living.
And I also want to touch on something too. Yes, you're an actor. You're also, all of you ladies and everyone in the WWE are incredible, incredible athletes, modern day like gladiators. Yes. I mean, so what is next for you in the ring?
Well, that's like a huge focus for me right now. I'm training. I go down to NXT to Orlando on my off days, and I train. And when the time is right, I am going to go after the Raw Women's Championship.
Yes. You can do it.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of people that, you know, once again, laugh at me or doubt me or, you know, whatever, give you every reason. But I believe that hard work leads to profit, and I believe the slow and the steady wins the race. And I will hold that title one day.
Awesome. Next question.
Hi, CJ. Thank you for being here. So my question for you is, who's your biggest wrestling idol or role model that inspired you to start wrestling?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. That's such a hard question for me to answer, because there's literally so many and for different reasons. I guess, you know, Miss Elizabeth is probably one of my favorite women in WWE, just because, you know, she was a star, like in every sense of the word, what it means to be a superstar. She didn't even wrestle, and like, you know, when she came out, the place would just erupt, and it didn't matter how much, like, you know, with Macho Man, if they, you know, people hated him, like, people loved her, and she was beautiful. She was a star, and so I love her for it. It's really hard to provoke that type of emotion when you're not even wrestling, and so it's like, wow, like you have something special. She's one of my favorite. Oh gosh, I have so many. I mean, I have to say, like, John Cena is one of my favorite. I mean, he's able to go out there and turn any crowd around. Like, he'll go out there and he can be booed, and he's so smart. He can just turn the crowd around, and he's just an incredible storyteller. And you know, I could go on and on and on and on and on. There's so many different people. Trish Stratus, of course, is probably one of my favorite women.
And now Lita is joining Renee Young in the panel on a lot of the the pre-shows.
Yes.
Which, by
yes.
the way, I have to say, Renee is an amazing,
Oh, Renee is so
caster.
talented.
Sorry, Michael Cole, if you're watching.
Yeah. I think honestly, she's like one of the most underrated people that we have. She's so talented and very, very funny.
Yeah.
So
Women are taking over.
yes, we are.
I think we have time for one last audience question.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for coming today. I actually have two questions. How old were you when you first were inspired to be a total diva? And then the next question is, you mentioned acting. So if you weren't a total diva, what can you see yourself acting in as far as films or television shows?
Well, I think I've been inspired to be a storyteller and entertainer since I've been 3 years old. Like I would watch, I remember when I was like 4 years old, I saw Jake the Snake. I saw, Hogan, and all my friends in the neighborhood, the guys would have like posters all over the place, and I would just be terrified. But I was always like drawn to athleticism and drawn to storytelling. And I remember like at 4 years old, I watched like this performance that traveled all over, and then also wrestling where it traveled all over. And I was like, I want to be a storyteller and I want to be an entertainer, and whatever shape and form that takes, like that's what I'm going to do for a living. And, ever since, I was like 6 years old, I would put on like plays, neighborhood plays and choirs and ice skating shows, and charge people $5 for my ice skating show that I put on in my backyard. So it's just like, I've always in every shape and form, like that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I don't put a label on like, oh, I want to be in this movie or I want to do this. I want to be a storyteller for a living and entertain and put smiles on people's faces. As long as I can do that for the rest of my life and make a living doing off of it, I am truly thankful.
Well, you're very good at putting smiles on people's faces. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for coming today, CJ. And I'm not trying to threaten Sasha Banks or Charlotte, but she's coming for you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. I had so much fun.